a theory Kohberger's team may be going under, that this DNA was planted on the K-bar sheet. Now, it doesn't say that it was planted by law enforcement. I'm going through in my head all the questions I have, all the things people are asking me, basically boiled down to, did law enforcement plant Kohberger's DNA on the sheet? I don't even necessarily think that's being said in this motion. It was potentially placed there by who knows or what, or it was planted there, again, not specifically by law enforcement. Could have been he was set up or somebody else there, or he was the driver even, and they wanted to pin it on him. So a lot of unknowns, right? But if it was placed there or planted there by law enforcement or someone else, if that is the theory of the defense or one of the theories of defense, we're getting pretty far down the road as to why the IGG and the family tree created, in my opinion, would at least be material to the defense of the discovery period. That does not mean it's admissible at trial. But if they are going to with a theory that, let's just say law enforcement planted the DNA, because that's the question I've gotten the most. If they are going with that theory, if law enforcement started the family tree with Kohberger and worked backwards, that could be material. If they did 15 family trees and not just Kohberger's, that could be material for a number of reasons. Number one, to show they weren't just focused on him. Number two, to show there might be some other suspects, which they do argue. But was Kohberger the trunk or the roots or whatever it would be, or was he a branch on the family tree based on some unknown profile? Or was his name put in first to build this family tree? Some of this information can come out in depositions. Some of it can come out in some other documents potentially. But if they're saying it was planted, if they're saying they targeted Kohberger, if they're saying that they wanted to make sure they got Kohberger, then how the family tree was built could be important. Could be. Which is why it should be discoverable. My opinion. They make arguments that you don't get everything in discovery. You don't get everything done in an investigation, and that's true. And I got the question, well, can't the defense just say anything is their theory of the case, having no reason to actually believe that, and then they can get more investigation information and more discovery? Well, the defense has to actually have a good faith basis and a reasonable belief that this could be true or this could be part of their defense. Okay, so they can't just say it willy-nilly about anything. And when we're looking at this, what information do they have that potentially could make this a reasonable belief or a reasonable argument? Well, we have heard that there's no other Kohberger DNA anywhere in the apartment or on any of the victims. We have also heard that there's no victim DNA in Kohberger's house, car, or any other place Kohberger was. We've also heard there's no connection to Kohberger and the victims. Now, none of those things make this crime impossible to be committed by Kohberger. That's happened plenty of times where there's no seeming connection and they end up committing this kind of heinous crime. But if they're saying he's never been there, there's no other evidence of it, this is the only piece, and the reason this is the only piece is because it was planted, that is leading down the line of at least having a good faith, reasonable belief that this is a real possibility, and therefore they need to discover potential evidence around that theory of defense, which would make it material to their defense. Bodie, Peter, where would they get the DNA from him to plant it? That's a great question. Which is why I think timing of the family tree is important. What did they have at that time? What did they gather? It's very interesting. Like, the DNA stuff is very weird because it is the most damning piece of evidence. It is something in the probable cause affidavit that they said, even without this DNA analysis, we still have enough for probable cause. It's very strange. Who planted it is the million-dollar question. Yeah, we may never know because maybe nobody planted it, right? Patrick, happy Tuesday. Peter and the Lawyer You Know chat. I've missed you all lately. Missed you too, Patrick.
So we're gonna pause it there for a little second just to take a little take on that. Yeah, he gave fingerprints, but he applied to Moscow I think Pullman. Yeah, Pullman. He applied for an internship with Pullman PD. So when you do that common sense, you need to be fingerprinted. It's common sense that probably, we don't know. I don't know. I will do a little research on that. But in my common sense, if you're gonna apply to be part of a PD, they should take your DNA swab. They should take a sample of your DNA to run it. Or at least have DNA on file. But remember, it's touch DNA. So your assessment, Amy, your assessment is correct. Big shout out to Amy. Your assessment is totally correct. Because he have to give his fingerprints. But I think that if they get fingerprints, which is touch DNA, from the sample that they got out of the fingerprints with the sheriff, they should be able to find residue of the dye, of the tint, of the, you know, the coloring that they utilize to press your fingerprints. They should also find the coloring. Yeah, baby, go. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. Let me give my baby son a drink real quick. But before I do that, pay attention, because it seems that for the only reason that the Ant Taylor would utilize this angle is because they know already his alibi, even though he has not offered his alibi to the court. But Ant Taylor and Bryan Kohberger, through their conversations, he already told her his alibi. It makes sense? Let me let chat with Peter. Let me let chat with my guy Peter.
Amber, why would they pick him to plant it? Another great question, Amber.
Why they pick him to plant it?
Great question. I have no idea.
Why they pick Bryan Kohberger?
So the only thing I could think is
before he give his before he give his assessment on that, I believe that they pick and choose Bryan Kohberger because he's the only stranger of the area. He spent 2 to 3 months in Pullman before he got blamed for this crime. 2 to 3 months. 2 to 3 months with all this shit that he had going on. Where he gonna have the mind and the brains to even think about the shit that they say he was thinking? It makes no sense. You're brand new in the area. You don't know no one. Of course, you're gonna act a little awkward because you don't trust people. And you're gonna treat people just as like, in the same way they treat you. So he spent 2 to 3 months in Pullman before he got blamed for this crime. And he comes from Pennsylvania. He don't have no attachment to no one within the area. He don't know no